over the world, are they starting to look similar? And is that one real worry, as Greg Chappell has said before? One of the real worries of future of international cricket, where a pitch in South Africa is similar to, say, a pitch in Mumbai.
Especially in the one-day game, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm from New Zealand, so I probably couldn't
India, tell me honestly, John, India in 2003 in South Africa, if the pitches were typical South African pitches with more bounce, life, would India have reached the final rounds?
Oh, it would have been more difficult. I think, you know, the Centurion wicket particularly was a completely different strip than the one that we played that unofficial test match. Those wickets definitely suited us. And we were very pleased when we read the various ICC releases that they want the scores to be so high and the wickets to be, well, it suited us.
I think that is the real challenge. Why not, Ian, let's be practical here. Finally, everything is going to be dictated by television. I was just on the phone coming here talking to a few people who market the television rights. And for them, it's 100 over one-day international that they want. Anything less than that, they lose money big time. So the pressure on the administrators is so immense to get pitches that make sure you have 100 overs bowled in a one-day match.
I mean, the pitch that India played Australia on was a terrific contest, and was virtually a 100-over contest. I mean, but I mean, what I don't understand is why you've got Daljit Singh in Mohali. Now, why do they bring in, there's a problem with the pitch, we'll bring someone in from overseas. And they're talking about Perth bounces, so let's bring the Perth soil and put it somewhere else. It's bollocks. I mean, it works in Perth because it suits the climate. I mean, let's stop trying to beat nature, and when we're stupid enough to do it with, you know, in other areas. But in cricket, you can't beat nature. Nature will always win the contest. So, I mean, there's obviously Indian people. Daljit Singh is one we keep coming back to that knows enough about Indian pitches that if somebody's got a problem in India, why not refer to him? Why do you fly somebody in from, you know, from another country who probably hasn't got much of a clue about the weather conditions and the local
The final
conditions?
point on this particular subject. 12 guys averaging over 15, 2,000. Is that going to be a trend now? Now, Ricky Ponting has already got 30 test match hundreds. Sunil Gavaskar, it seemed, took a lifetime, and every 100 was achieved, and we felt, I mean, it was not easy. I mean, we saw the work that he put into getting those hundreds. Finally reaching 34, we thought this record is going to be difficult to beat. Ricky Ponting, for him, it's almost been like a walk in the park. He might end up with 40, 45. So like Tony said, is that going to be a temporary phase, or let's get used to a good batsman getting 45 test hundreds from now on?
It could well be a temporary phase. You know, you get a couple of good bowlers coming through the ranks, and you know, then there'll be a better
good bowlers on
contest.
flat pitches if television continues to rule the game.
You can't allow that to happen. You can't allow television to dictate the form of
So
pitch,
it's the
'cause then
viewers
gonna
actually
get
will
boring.
dictate
I mean, that'll
course
get
of
boring.
the
It'll become predictable. It'll get boring. I mean, there's, you know, there are all sorts of things. There's incentives we haven't even talked about. You know, these guys have got these days. I mean, they're playing for their, you know, they're literally putting a superannuation away. By the time they finish playing, they have to work again. You know, they can go and do anything they like. I mean, the effect of technology. There's so many other factors in this. I mean, you know, television at the moment is the be-all and end-all revenue-wise. You know, it may not be long before that changes.
Do you think the viewers need to get more
One
demanding?
thing that's of stone-cold certainty, though, don't think that going longer and getting the 100 overs in for the ads is going to be the way it works. Because, believe me, 2020 has arrived. And for me, as much as people don't like it, more and more Mr. Average out there is going to want shorter games of cricket.
And also the wickets break. Let's not forget a commercial break in between wickets is worth about 2 or 3 overs. So 20 wickets falling in a day is also not such a bad thing.
And Sanjay, just coming back to that bowling issue, which you said temporary. You know, I don't see bowling improving drastically in the next decade or so. And the simple reason for that is too much of one-day cricket. Now, you just see the amount of one-day cricket in the last 10 years. And it really, you know, plays on the fast bowler. If he has to play test matches, then come back and play one-day cricket, and then travel all over the place, you're not going to get too many real quality fast bowlers.
Yeah, because most of the bowlers these days are talking about bowling in the right area, which means for a batsman, I mean, he knows everything is going to be on the off stump. And there's not going to be too much different, you know, lines of attack or different swings or different movement of the plate.
I'd fix that. We can get let's get the ball swinging a bit more. Let's experiment with a two-piece ball. You know, let's start to bring back swing, pitch it up. Let's see how they handle it.
Or a little lighter. You talk about bats getting heavier, equipment going, why not think of meddling with the weight of the ball? Either lighter or either heavier, so that it's a better contest and you give the bowler a little
John,
bit
do you
more.
think that will bring a better contest between bat and ball? A stipulation on how heavy the bat can be, not more than this weight, and two-piece leather ball. I mean,
I'm
you
not
are right
actually,
into these matters, isn't it?
Well, I don't like a lot of rules. I just think...
All laws?
Well, and laws, yeah. I think the batting's going to continue because as soon as you get it out there, people are going to want to keep achieving. And also, there's a lot of cricket played. And it's easier to bat when you're playing a lot of cricket than bowl. You're going to have to keep a lot of world-class bowlers fit all the time, and that's pretty difficult.
Yeah, we've lost 190 miles per hour bowler recently.
Well,
few of them, they're becoming extinct. We lost
you
one.
only have to play county
2 weeks
season
back.
and the county cricket in the end of the year, and the best time to get your runs is around about August and September, because all those bowlers are knackered. And in world cricket there are a few attacks going around now that they play a test match and they mightn't be as fresh as they'd like
So
to be.
basically, batsmen are going to have a good time for a length of time. You're talking 2-3
It is
decades.
cyclical. I mean, there's always cyclical. But I mean, you're talking about more centuries or so. I mean, have a look at the number of matches. I mean, it stands to reason that there's going to be more centuries scored, because guys are playing 150, 160 test matches where 100 used to be most unusual. But you see, one thing that I've enjoyed about this Champions Trophy is the fact that, and we saw it with Ponting in the semi-final with New Zealand, out for 58. See, so many games of cricket where you watch, and a batsman of Ponting's calibre, that once he gets to about 20 or 30, you know that he's going to make 100, and the opposition captain, virtually, you can see him...
Resigned to that.
He's resigned to that, yeah. And, easy runs are given away. That really pisses me off when I see captains, just even if they're only giving ones away. That pisses me off, because it changes the dynamics of an innings. But suddenly you saw Ponting get out at 58 because the ball, there was still just enough there. And, I mean, that's the way I remember the contest of cricket, that, you as a batsman, you didn't think, or you rarely thought, I'm 30 now, this is definitely 100. But you can almost sense that not only does the batsman think it, but the fielding side thinks it in a lot of cases. Now, if the contest is even between bat and ball, that feeling shouldn't be happening. You guys should, if they get 100, they've bloody earned it.
Yeah. Plus strategy as a captain. You're thinking. Because when there's something happening there, the game can change in 5 overs. It's not one-way traffic where the bat's dominating the ball. So as a captain, you always want to be ahead of the 8 ball, plan A, plan B, plan C in place. And it makes for good viewing, good watching.
Right, let's move on, and we've got our final subject of discussion today, and that is, we're talking about batsmen, and what defines greatness in batsmen. I mean, when you say this batsman is great, what are you looking for? What are the qualities, the characteristics to define a great batsman? Is it technique? Is it natural skills, ability to handle pressure, or just be consistent innings after innings? And we've got contemporary greats here, Tendulkar, Lara, Ward, Dravid, Ponting, Inzamam and Kallis, and I would want you to pick your greatest batsman in this era. So first of all, what do you look for as a greatness in a batsman, John, and then your choice?
I'm not very well qualified to talk about that.
Why not? All of us.
What I think for me...
You didn't see any?
I didn't play against you, did I?
It wasn't the question.
To me, it's a look. It's you just see it for me, and you think he is a great player.
So you don't look at the figures.
The figures,
average.
if you're any good at what you're seeing, hopefully
They'll be good.
they're not averaging 10. And for me, I mean, you want to know who... there are 3 great players that I saw during my career. There were players that were great, or good, or very good, whatever you want to, in the Miandag, Gavaskar, Boycott, Kallicharan, Zahir, Border, Mark Woolstead, but they weren't, to me, true greatness is something that I looked at and I thought, wow, you don't see that very often. And their figures bear it out. And I mean, Barry Richards, I watched him play 3 innings. 2 for Kent and 1 when I played against him for Derbyshire. He didn't play much Test cricket. But to me, in my mind, whether I'm right or wrong, who cares? But to me, he was great. Viv Richards was great. And Greg Chappell. They were the 3 guys that when I played, that for me, they were great. Right. And when I look at this list, and no, you can't put your name...
You missed one off that list. What about Crowe?
Martin Crowe, yeah. He's in that... And I missed a few. You know, there's quite a few.
No, but
on that
he's
list.
a fairly obvious one.
Yeah, all right.
Because you actually played with him,
yeah. But what I'm saying, on that list there's a lot of great players. But to me it was a look. And Tendulkar and Lara in this lot. And
And one out of the 2? It's got to be one. Come on.
No, I don't see it that way. I really don't. But for me, it's looking at someone. I suppose it's when I never saw Bradman or Sobers or Pollock bat.
But out of this lot between Tendulkar and Lara, if you had to pick one.
I'm not going to.
Okay, fine.
Tendulkar,
Lara. Ian, I know you're also of the same view. It's the look, isn't it? For you, a Mark Waugh is always a better batsman than a Steve Waugh.
No, I mean, obviously it gets down to people you like watching. I mean, but as John said, I mean, the better players, you don't see a guy who looks like a bloody champion and then you find out that he averages 10. It just doesn't happen. But yeah, I mean, but it is a whole lot of those things that you've got down there. I mean,
so tell us what you look for, in the greatness
well,
of look, and then big matches, scores in big games, consistency.
Guys who can take control of a game and they can change a game in a short period of time. See, the guys that kept you as a captain, the guys who kept you awake at night kept me awake at night were guys like Sobers and Graham Pollock and Viv Richards, those sort of guys. A guy who could get a big score and he could get it quickly. Jeffrey Boycott didn't keep me awake at night because, in fact, he put me to sleep during the day, you know. But he didn't keep me awake at night because I figured if he got 150, it was going to take so long that it made our chances of saving the game much greater. So, I don't... And another reason why I don't put Jeff Boycott in the class of great, because he was a selfish bastard. He only played for himself. He didn't play for his team. See, I mean, I heard Bill Lawry call him a great player one day, and I said,
that selfish batsman.
And I said to Bill, after Bill came off air, I said, that's rubbish, Bill. He wasn't a great player. And, oh, yeah, you were, And I said, Bill, Gary Sobers averaged bloody 58, and he played every second of his for the game of cricket, not for Gary Sobers, for the game of cricket. And I said, Boycott played every second of his career as a batsman for himself, and he only averaged 47. What are you talking about?
He's a completely different person now, isn't he? He's so selfless.
Shit.
But
when he's
Ian,
in
from
that
this
mood, when
lot,
you send him over to me?
from this lot, Tendulkar, Lara, Waugh, Dravid, Ponting, Inzamam and Jacques Kallis.
I'd say out of that lot, Tendulkar, Lara and Ponting are the 3 that I would have in that category.
And you also wouldn't want to pick one?
Yeah, no, I will. But the point I will make is that Tendulkar and Lara started quite a long time before Ponting, and it does take a long time to establish yourself as a great player. And whilst I think Ponting now has surpassed Tendulkar and Lara, that's got a bit to do with age. So, yes, I think Ponting has entered that category, but because he hasn't been there as long, I'll pick from the other 2. And if you pointed a gun at my head and said you can only pick one, I'd take Brian Lara, but with the proviso that his brain's in gear. Because when his brain's in gear, I love watching. And not
it's an anagram, isn't it? Brian and brain.
No, I mean he's had his brain in gear a lot. It was just that short period where he, I don't know, he went a bit crazy. But
Tony,
Lara.
Now you're a global cricket follower. You've been for the last 25, 30 years. Your views and your.
Well, I mean, Ian's pretty well said it all. Sobers and Graham Pollock were the 2 that sort of stood out for me as just being absolutely unbelievable. I wouldn't want to try and separate them. You'd go with Sobers because he was such a great all-round cricketer. But if it came down to these guys, I go with Lara as well, and I go with Lara again with the proviso that he's. And
your definition of greatness, I mean.
For me, it's sort of, it's just a natural thing. It's like a fielder. You see a guy, runs across the turf, and for some reason the ball ends up in the middle of his hand. He doesn't fumble it. I mean, I remember when Clive Lloyd, guys like Colin Glad, they said, and you chase the ball. For some reason, it just went in and it was out like a rocket. And, you know, so it's just a natural thing for me. Lara, well, you know, I think Murali pretty well said it all. I mean, Murali reckons that he's so far above the rest in terms of his ability to play spin that, you know, that it doesn't matter. So that's good enough for me.
Ravi?
It has
First
to
of all, definition of greatness, or
No,
either way. I
you
mean,
see, you mentioned your technique, natural skills, ability to handle pressure, ability to score in different conditions means adaptability. I would add a couple of things there. Consistency, right? And your career, your span of your career. You've got to do it not for 1 or 2 years. You know, to be rated, it should be a decade, little more than a decade. And one key word in this thing that's not there is ability to dominate attacks. You know, Ian mentioned about Jeffrey Boycott. He might score the runs, but he won't dominate an attack. And if you look at that list, I would say Tendulkar, Lara, Ponting. Ponting definitely has come in there now, but he's still got a long way to go, so another 5-6 years of cricket. But between Tendulkar and Lara, you would have to give it to Lara because he has dominated more often than not whenever he's batted over a span of time. Tendulkar had his 3 years of brilliance. You know, 96, 97 against Australia. Now that is the Tendulkar you would remember and see, because not only did he score hundreds, but it was dominating.
And also dominated the attack when the attacks were better.
And dominated, and it had it had an impact on the series. India won the series. Now Lara, I mean, playing in a weak West Indian team, which is the weakest West Indian attack ever for the last 10 years, and still to go out and dominate sides like Australia and whichever country he plays against, like Tony mentioned about Murali, to bat that way with such consistency. And it was not, he was batting long periods of time to get those runs. He was looking to attack Murali or attack any opposition he plays against. So that ability to dominate was the reason why Viv Richards was the greatest I ever saw.
Is that where perhaps there is a little question mark still over Ricky Ponting about dominating Murali or having a very good series in India on turning pitches? Gentlemen, maybe the final.
Yes, I think Ricky, if he has to reach that level, he has to do better in the subcontinent in test matches on turning tracks.
Well, that's it on our show. Hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, it's goodbye, and thanks for joining the Cricket Info Roundtable discussion. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time.